Thanks for being here with me, my friend. Let me start with a simple question. Have you tried learning English again and again, yet it still feels distant, like it's something outside your world? You study and memorize so much, but it doesn't really stay in your heart. In this video, I'll share with you the real secret, how I made English part of my everyday life naturally and forever. No stress, no pressure at all. Just little changes that brought big results over time. Do you sometimes feel that English still doesn't belong in your life? Chapter 1. The day I realized English was not in my life. I still remember that day clearly. I was sitting in my room with a grammar book I had read for months. The pages were full of rules and exercises. I kept reading, but my heart felt heavy. I could understand the words and grammar. I even remembered the definitions. But something inside didn't feel right. Then a question hit me hard. If I understand English, why can't I speak it? That one simple thought opened my eyes to a truth I had ignored. English wasn't part of my life at all. It was just something I wrote in notebooks. I had learned English for years, but it still felt like a stranger. I memorized verbs, did worksheets, passed tests. But outside class English disappeared from my world. I didn't think in English. I didn't talk in English. I didn't even feel English in my heart. It was like reading a book about swimming, but never stepping into the water. That was the moment I realized I was working hard in the wrong way. And that changed everything for me. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was full of thoughts and questions I had never asked before. I remembered every time I stayed silent when someone asked, "Can you speak English?" I would say a little, even though I had spent years studying it. I felt stuck. I thought of moments when I wanted to share my feelings in English, but the words just didn't come. Watching English movies with subtitles gave me understanding, but not emotion. I had knowledge, but no connection. I felt sad, but also hopeful. Because I finally knew the real issue. The problem wasn't English itself. The problem was how I had been learning it. I walked up to the mirror and looked at myself. I asked, what if I lived with English like a friend? Not just learn it or study it, but live with it like I live with my native tongue. What if I started each day with English? What if I talked to myself and made English part of my habits? That small thought felt powerful. For once, I wasn't chasing a grade, I was building a new way of life. The next morning, I tried something simple. I whispered in English, "Good morning. I'm ready to learn." It was short and soft, but it felt like magic. I smiled at myself. For the first time, English touched not only my mind, but also my heart. I didn't sound perfect. I wasn't fluent, but I felt something real. I felt alive with English. That day, I started seeing things differently. My toothbrush became my speaking tool. My mirror became a practice partner. My walk to the store became my listening time. And I realized something beautiful. English was already around me. I just needed to welcome it. That's what I want you to understand, my friend. If you feel English is far from your life, don't blame yourself. It's not about being smart or knowing more grammar. It's about inviting English into your world step by step. Let it enter your mornings, your thoughts, your room, your routines. It will start to grow naturally. It's not how many words you memorize. What matters is if you actually use them each day. Do you talk to yourself? Do you write your feelings? Do you listen while cooking or resting? English is not just for exams. It's a living thing. A language must be lived, not just studied. If you don't use it, you lose it. But even small daily use can make it bloom like a flower in your mind. And one day without fear, you'll speak. You'll smile. You'll connect. You'll feel free. This is just the beginning of my story. But this was the moment that changed everything. The day I realized English wasn't part of my life was the day I started bringing it in. I didn't wait for fluency. I didn't wait for the perfect course. I simply started with what I had. And that, my friend, changed everything. Are you ready to start your change too? Chapter 2. Why English felt like a stranger. Let's go back to when I first started learning English. I remember it didn't feel close to me at all. It felt cold like a machine. It didn't feel like a voice. It didn't feel warm or human. It felt like a school subject full of hard words, grammar boxes, red marks, and fear. Even though I spent time with it, English still felt like something far away. And I know many learners feel this too. We spend hours learning, yet we don't feel connected. We don't feel like it belongs to us. So it stays distant, like someone we never talked to. And when something feels like a stranger, we can't trust it, or love it, or use it freely. That's what happened to me. And it's what happens to millions of learners around the world. I used to write down 20 new words each week, but I didn't speak them or use them. So I forgot them. They didn't become part of me. I tried learning grammar, tenses, conditionals, passive voice, but I never linked it to real life. I didn't use English to share feelings or tell stories. I only used it to pass exams. And slowly, I built a wall between English and my heart. That wall made it feel like a visitor who only came during tests and left right after. I also carried deep fear. Speaking English in front of others made my hands cold. My heart would race. I feared judgment and sounding silly. I was afraid of mistakes, so I avoided speaking. I gave short answers, but never shared my real thoughts. And that silence made English feel even more like a stranger. A language I saw, but didn't touch. It's like seeing someone every day, but never saying hello. Slowly the gap grows. Then one day, I saw a child speaking English so confidently. He used simple words, but he was happy. He laughed, played asked questions, and talked without fear. And I asked myself, why not me? The answer was simple. He didn't treat English as a subject. He treated it like a friend. He didn't memorize. He lived with it. He used it to feel and express joy. That moment changed something in me. I saw that English must become part of you. So I started asking better questions. How can I make English feel like home? How can I stop treating it like a guest and start living with it like a friend? The answer came gently. I had to stop focusing only on grammar and tests. I had to bring English into my daily world, my routines, my emotions, my memories. I had to stop learning English from the outside and start bringing it inside. From that moment on, I changed my way of learning. I stopped memorizing for no reason. I began using new words in real conversations, even if only with myself. I stopped watching videos just to understand. I watched them to feel. I let go of trying to be perfect. I focused on being present. Slowly, English stopped feeling strange. It became familiar, like someone I had always known. And something beautiful happened. The more I used English to describe real life, the more I connected. I began saying things like, I'm tired, I'm happy, I need rest. Simple but real words. And real words have power. I wrote my feelings in English, even with basic vocabulary. And something amazing happened. English started speaking back from my heart, not just my notebook. Because language is not only structure, it is connection, feeling, life. If you don't connect with English, you will always feel nervous or blocked. But the moment you invite it into your day, it becomes your second voice. If English still feels far from your heart, don't be sad. It's not your fault. You were taught to study it, not to live with it. But now you can choose differently. You can build a friendship with English. You can speak honestly, even with simple words. You don't need perfection. You need connection. That's what brings true growth. And in the next chapter, I'll share how one choice changed it all for me. I decided to welcome English into every single day. And from that day, it felt like family. But that was only the beginning of my journey. What came next helped me build a real connection with English, and it might help you do the same. Chapter 3. The day I chose daily English. There's always a moment when every learner has to decide, is English just a goal or something you want in your life for real? For me, that moment came on a quiet evening. I was walking alone thinking about what I really wanted. I asked myself, do I want to keep using English only when school tells me to? Or just when I feel motivated? My heart answered clearly, no. I don't want English to be something I visit. I want it to stay. That was the turning point. I chose not just to study English. I chose to live with it every single day. Not for a test, not for someone else, just because I knew it mattered to me. I didn't wait for a perfect plan. I didn't wait to feel fluent or fearless. I just started. Each morning, I asked myself one simple thing. How will I live with English today? Like brushing my teeth or drinking water, I made space for English in my routine, even in the smallest ways. And I realized something big. I didn't need hours. Just a few minutes here and there could change everything. English doesn't ask for long study sessions. It asks for true attention, repeated again and again. The first real shift started in my thoughts. I stopped saying, I'll study later. I said I'll live with English now, even if I only had 5 minutes. I listened to a line, repeated a phrase, or whispered something to myself in English. Those little things shaped my day, and over time they shaped me. One morning, I said quietly to myself, today is a fresh start. Just 4 words, but they changed my energy. I felt calm. I felt focused. It was like English had become my friend, greeting me at sunrise. I started doing that every day. Tiny affirmations, gentle self-talk. Not grammar drills, just honest connection. And slowly, those moments added up. I felt more relaxed, more real, more free when using English. Then I asked myself, where else can I bring English into my day? While brushing my teeth, I played a podcast. While eating, I read a sentence. While walking, I thought in English. While cooking, I described what I was doing. I'm peeling garlic. I'm pouring water. It didn't feel like studying. It felt like living. And that's when it really started to click. Not every day was perfect. Some days I forgot. Some days I felt tired. But I kept going. I reminded myself one off day doesn't erase my progress. What matters is returning the next day. That decision to live with English daily changed something deep inside me. Before that, I kept starting and stopping. I studied hard one week, then gave up the next. I was on a learning roller coaster. But after that choice, I became steady, consistent, and more at peace. Even on lazy days, I did something small. 1 word, 1 line, 1 short thought in English. And that's what changed everything. Not big effort, but gentle daily steps that never stopped. So if you're hearing my voice now, please know, you don't have to wait until you're ready. You don't have to wait for confidence or time. Just make a quiet promise to yourself. From today, I'll let English walk with me. Even if it's just 2 minutes while I brush my hair. Even if it's 1 word whispered before bed. Even if it's a thought while doing dishes. Do it with care. Do it for you. Because daily English becomes real English. Chapter 4. Starting with my morning routine. Morning time is a quiet treasure. It's the beginning of everything new. One day, I had a small thought. What if I begin my day with just a little English? That one change helped carry the language with me all through the day. I didn't create some perfect system. I simply picked English instead of empty silence. So I made a gentle promise to myself. From today, I will start my mornings with English. And that one shift changed not only my English, but also my energy, mood, and courage. At first, I didn't know what to do. Should I read, listen, or watch something? Then I realized I already have a routine. I wake up, I stretch, I make tea. So instead of adding new steps, I placed English inside the things I already do. This made everything easier and lighter. English became part of my flow, not a task. The very first thing I started was saying one sentence in English after opening my eyes. It didn't have to be special, just something like, "Good morning," or "Let's begin." Those simple lines carried a quiet power. They gave me strength to move forward. They reminded me that I'm learning, growing, and improving little by little. I would softly repeat the sentence 3 times slowly with full feeling. I didn't care about grammar or how I sounded. I just wanted to feel the words inside me. And when I spoke like that, English turned into more than sound, it became a real feeling. After getting up, I'd stand before the mirror and speak English to my own reflection. Sometimes I'd say something silly, sometimes deep, sometimes just a soft whisper. You can do this. Don't give up. English is your friend. That moment became my favorite part of each morning. I wasn't just using English. I was giving myself encouragement and love. In that mirror, I became my own guide, my own helper, and my own classroom. While brushing my teeth, I'd play a short audio in English, just 1 or 2 minutes. It could be a short story, a podcast clip, or a simple motivational video. I didn't force myself to catch every word. I just let the sounds flow in gently. My goal wasn't to understand everything. My goal was to hear and feel the rhythm. The more I listened, the more natural English started to feel inside me. My ears got sharper, my thoughts clearer, my mind more alive. Then came tea time or breakfast. I used that moment to read one small paragraph, not from a textbook, something real like a quote, a headline, or a short story. Sometimes I read it aloud, sometimes just quietly, but always with my full attention. I didn't rush. I let the words touch me. I would even talk back to the sentence. If the line said, "You are stronger than you know," I would respond, "Yes, I am." This didn't take hours, just 10 to 15 minutes, but it changed my mornings forever. I felt braver, more awake, and more in tune with English throughout my day. It was like planting one small English seed in the morning and watching it grow. And the best part, I didn't need anything expensive or fancy. No teacher, no app, just me, my voice, my tea, my quiet time. You can create your own English morning too. Just start small. Speak one line. Smile. Whisper something kind. That's already enough. Some mornings I was tired. Some days I didn't want to say anything. But even then, I would listen to one word or say one short sentence. Even on hard days, I stayed close to English because it wasn't homework, it was life. It was love. It was the bond between me and English, like sunlight meeting the window. My friend, if you want English in your life, start when the day begins. Don't wait until your mind is full of stress or your body is tired. Start with peace, with one kind sentence, with space in your heart. Let English greet you each morning, and soon it will walk beside you through the day. In the next part, I'll tell you one of the strongest habits I ever built, speaking to myself, out loud, alone. Sometimes it felt strange, but it changed everything. Chapter 5. The day I started talking to myself. There was a time I believed speaking English meant finding someone else to talk to. Maybe a teacher, maybe a native speaker, or even a friend. But since I didn't know anyone like that, I stayed silent. I waited. I hoped. And deep inside, I felt stuck and alone. Then one day, I read something that flipped my thinking. It said, start with yourself. Talk to the person you see every day. At first, I thought it sounded silly. Talk to myself out loud. That felt a little weird and funny, but a quiet part of me knew it made sense. I didn't need someone perfect to speak with. I just needed chances to speak, and who's always around no matter what me, so I gave it a try. The first time, it felt awkward. I whispered softly, "I'm sitting here. I'm holding tea. The fan is spinning." The words were simple. Too simple, I thought. But I didn't stop. I just kept going. Soon I added more. "I'm brushing my hair. I'm walking to the door." Then I started sharing feelings. "I feel tired. I feel lazy. I don't want to do anything." Little by little, something new happened. I wasn't translating anymore. I was thinking in English. It wasn't always smooth or perfect, but something in my brain was shifting. I wasn't waiting for English to show up, I was living it. Speaking to myself gave me something precious: freedom. No fear of mistakes, no one correcting me, just me being real. I could talk slow or fast. I could pause, laugh, or stumble. And slowly it became fun. It felt like I had discovered a superpower. I could practice any time while showering, cooking, walking, or lying in bed. No classroom, no partner. Just me and my voice creating space for learning every day. And the more I practiced, the more confident I became. I even started short pretend conversations in my head. Someone in my imagination would ask, "How are you?" and I'd answer in full English sentences. I imagined telling a story, giving directions, talking about my day. I rehearsed daily life in my mind. So when those moments came in real life, I was ready. My words came easier. I didn't freeze up. I had already spoken those words to myself before. And that made all the difference. There was something else too. It helped my heart. When I felt sad, I would say in English, "I feel alone." When I felt proud, I'd say, "I did something great today." Those tiny sentences helped me connect my feelings to the language. It made English feel alive and human. It wasn't just about learning anymore. It was about feeling. It was about healing something inside. English became my second voice, a voice that helped me understand myself more deeply. Sometimes I would speak in front of a mirror. I'd look into my eyes and say things like, "You're learning. You're growing. You're doing well." At first, those words felt fake, but over time, they started feeling real. Because when we repeat something enough, it becomes part of us. So hear me now from the heart. If you want to speak fluently, don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for a teacher or native speaker. Begin with yourself. Whisper words while walking. Talk while washing dishes or tying your shoes. Even if it's in your head, speak. Your voice matters. It truly does. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need fancy words. You just need honesty and a little bravery. And if you speak to yourself every day, something powerful will happen. Now, I talk to myself all the time. Sometimes just for a minute, sometimes much longer. It's not about how long you speak. It's about how it makes you feel. That feeling will build your fluency like nothing else. So remember, your best speaking partner has been with you all along. It's you. Chapter 6. When English replaced my music. There was a time when music filled every part of my day. From morning walks to cooking dinner, soft melodies or energetic beats kept me company, making every moment feel alive. Music gave me comfort, a rhythm to follow, a space to breathe. But one quiet day, as I listened to a song I'd heard too many times before, something changed inside me. A question came to my heart. What if I replaced just a little of this music with English? Not everything, not forever, just a few minutes. Would it help me understand the language better? Could it help me speak more naturally? I didn't know, but I felt curious enough to try. So I started very small. I searched for English podcasts, made for beginners with slow and friendly voices. I listened to simple stories, peaceful bedtime talks, and motivational messages in English that were easy to follow. Many were just 5 minutes long. But those 5 minutes felt very different from my usual study time. Because I wasn't studying, I was listening. I was enjoying. At first, I didn't catch every word, but I didn't stop. I let the sounds flow over me like water on a quiet shore. I listened while I walked, while I cleaned, while I lay in bed. No pressure, no notebook, just the natural sound of English slowly entering my world. And then something surprising happened. I began to recognize phrases, short ones like, "What's your name?" or "I don't know." These lines returned again and again. They didn't come from memorizing. They came from hearing them in real life many times in different moods and voices. I learned something powerful. Your brain doesn't always need grammar books. It needs sound. It needs rhythm. It needs feeling. The more I listened, the more I felt connected. I began to feel the emotion behind the words. A gentle, "I'm sorry." A confident, "Yes." A joyful, "That's great." These feelings stuck with me far longer than any rule I had studied in the past. And the best part, I had the freedom to choose. If something felt boring, I skipped it. I found voices and stories that made me smile or feel calm. I even listened with my eyes closed, lying on the couch, just letting the sounds move around me. After a while, English started to feel like music too. Not background noise, but something real, something meaningful. Of course, there were days I felt like giving up. I thought, I'm not improving. I still don't understand enough. But then I remembered learning is not about instant results. It's about watering the seed again and again until one day it blooms. And then that day came. I was watching a video and suddenly realized I wasn't reading the subtitles. I understood it with my ears. That moment made me smile so wide. I whispered, "It's working." After that, I made a small habit. Every time I picked up my earphones, I asked, "Can this be an English moment?" Sometimes the answer was yes. Sometimes I still listened to my favorite music. But little by little, English became a natural part of my life. You don't have to understand every sentence. You don't need to translate. Just listen. Feel the rhythm. Let the language be part of your world. Start with 5 minutes a day. While washing dishes. While walking your dog. While getting ready for bed. Your brain will notice. Your ears will thank you. One day, someone will speak English to you, and you will understand. Not because you worked harder than others, but because you gently gave your brain the gift of sound again and again. This is how we grow without stress with love. And now, let me take you to the next step on my journey when I opened my notebook and wrote something in English for the very first time. It wasn't long. It wasn't perfect. But it changed everything. Chapter 7. The first words I wrote. It was one peaceful evening. The sky was soft, and the world outside my window felt quiet and still. I sat alone with a plain notebook, just me and my thoughts, holding a pen like I was about to write a secret. That day, I had listened to English spoken to myself in the mirror and even practiced aloud. But deep inside, something felt incomplete, like a part of the puzzle was still missing. I wasn't learning for a test or a teacher. I needed to write for myself, only for me. So I opened the notebook, slowly wrote the date at the top using English letters for the first time. I paused, stared at the empty page, my hands slightly shaking, unsure what to say. Then I took a breath and wrote my first sentence. Today was a slow day. That one quiet line started something powerful. A new part of my journey had begun. I didn't think about spelling or rules. I only wanted to say something real and honest. I wrote the next line. I woke up late, then I made tea. I watched a video. I feel tired, but calm. Just 5 short lines, nothing fancy, yet they filled me with a quiet kind of joy. Because those sentences were mine. They came from my world, from my feelings, from my voice. That small moment changed everything. It was the first time English truly felt personal. It wasn't schoolwork. It wasn't make-believe. It was my life in English, simple but true. And I realized something big writing about your life makes English feel like it belongs to you. You stop saying this is hard and you begin saying this is my English and it's real. So I made a quiet promise I would write every day, just a little, just a few lines. If I was feeling low, I wrote, "Today I am sad." If I had good food, I wrote, "The meal was tasty." Over time, my words grew longer, richer, with tiny details that made the picture clear. I walked to the park. The sky was gray. The air felt cold, but I smiled. It was like painting with words simple, emotional, and full of quiet beauty. And after writing, I always read my sentences out loud to myself. That helped me in two big ways. I wrote better, and I spoke better. I started to feel how writing and speaking were two sides of the same coin. The words weren't just silent, they were alive, and they belonged to me. Sure, I made mistakes. I used wrong words. My tenses were often off. But I kept going. I didn't let being imperfect stop me from growing. I followed one powerful rule. If I didn't know the big word, I'd use the small one I did. That rule made me think harder, made me creative, made me brave. Soon, my notebook became a true friend. I took it with me everywhere. I wrote in coffee shops, on bus rides, at the park, anywhere the mood came. I wrote when I was laughing, and I wrote when tears were in my eyes. I even began asking myself questions in my diary, like a quiet conversation with my heart. Why do I feel this way? What did I learn today? What can I do better tomorrow? And I answered them all in English. No filters, no fear, just honesty. Those daily moments made my thinking clearer and my emotions stronger. English was no longer a task. It had become part of who I was. Looking back, I can say this for sure, that small notebook gave me true fluency. Not just with words, but with confidence, with trust in myself, with connection to my journey. It reminded me that I had a voice, and my voice deserved to be heard even in a second language. If you're learning English, I invite you to try the same. Grab a small notebook or your phone and write just one line today. I watched a video. I feel tired. I want to improve. That's enough to begin. Start small. Start honestly. Start today. And if you keep going, you'll feel the shift inside. English won't feel far away anymore. It will live with you, walk with you, breathe with you, and speak through you. In the next chapter, I'll show you how a simple change on my phone made English part of every moment. Chapter 8. When my phone spoke English. It all started with a tiny choice that made a huge difference. I decided to switch my phone's language to English. One evening, as I was scrolling like always, something quiet popped into my mind. If I truly wanted English in my daily life, why was my phone still using my first language? That small screen followed me everywhere, from morning alarms to late-night messages. It wasn't just a phone. It was my calendar, my music, my map, my way to connect and learn. So I paused. I opened the settings. I stared at the option. And then I tapped English. Just like that, things began to shift. At first, it looked unfamiliar. Words I'd never seen before were now part of my daily habits. Instead of memorizing, I was just living. I was learning without effort. Snooze, reply, download. These weren't flashcards, they were part of what I did each day. Every camera tap said record. Every brightness bar said increase or dim. Bit by bit, I stopped needing to translate. I simply understood what I saw. And something beautiful happened. My brain started to switch too. I no longer thought check the phone in my language. I thought it in English without trying. It felt like I had entered a different world, but I hadn't gone anywhere. That one step gave me confidence. So I kept going. My social apps changed to English. YouTube English videos started showing up. Facebook, the buttons said like, share, comment. And the more I saw English, the more it felt normal. It didn't feel like a lesson. It felt like life. Yes, sometimes I didn't know a word. Maybe something in a new app surprised me. But instead of worry, I felt curious. I searched, I played, I figured it out. That's when I learned something deep. We remember best when we need something in real time. When cash popped up, I checked what it meant. When airplane mode appeared, I tested it. Those moments stuck. They stayed in my memory because they had meaning. I wasn't studying English anymore. I was experiencing it, and that made me proud. Proud that I built my own English space. I didn't need a plane ticket. I didn't need a tutor next to me. I just needed tiny moments with English over and over. My phone became more than a tool. It became my silent coach. My apps became little teachers, and I became the kind of person who learns by doing. The biggest truth I found immersion is not about where you are. It's about what you surround yourself with mentally and visually. Put English into your world. Let your phone talk to you. Let your apps guide you. Write in English. Watch with English. Read your notifications and let them teach you. Bit by bit, you'll stop feeling like a student. You'll start feeling like a speaker, because English won't be something outside of you anymore. It'll be your new normal. That one change made my days brighter. Every time I touched my screen, English was there. Every message, every alert, every button reminded me I'm not just learning this language. I'm using it. I'm living it. I'm growing with it. And that made me feel brave. It gave me a quiet strength. I no longer waited for someone to give me a chance. I created one tap at a time. If you truly want English to stay in your life, start here. Change your phone today. Get used to the words. At first it's strange, but soon it becomes comfortable. And one day you'll think in English too and realize it's not just something you study. It's something you live. Now get ready for the next chapter, because soon I'll tell you about the first time I watched a movie with no subtitles and what that moment did to my heart. Chapter 9. The day I watched without subtitles. It was one of those cozy rainy evenings, the kind that makes you want to stay in with tea and a soft blanket. I was alone thinking about all the English shows and clips I had watched, always with subtitles on. Every time I watched something in English, my eyes were glued to the bottom of the screen. It wasn't really listening. It was reading quickly and trying to match the words I heard. I realized I had never truly trusted my ears. Subtitles were like the training wheels I didn't want to take off. Helpful, yes, but I wanted to move forward without depending on them. I wanted to truly hear, not just read English. So that rainy night, I made a small but bold decision. I picked a movie I had already watched once before. And this time, I turned the subtitles off. My heart beat faster. What if I couldn't follow? What if I got lost? But then I reminded myself of something important. Understanding isn't about being perfect. It's about feeling connected. That was enough reason to press play. The beginning felt strange. The characters spoke quickly. Some words came and disappeared like wind. I missed a lot, but I didn't stop the movie. I didn't pause. I just listened and kept going. I focused on the way they moved their eyes, their voice tones, the energy in their words. And slowly, something amazing started to happen. Even without knowing every single word, I was getting the message. I followed the plot. I laughed when they laughed. I felt it when someone cried. That's when I realized you don't need to understand every word to understand the emotion. Watching without subtitles trained my ears and also freed my heart. It was like stepping onto a tightrope without a net, scary but powerful. I started noticing repeated expressions. Are you okay? Let's go. What happened? These weren't new to me, but now they felt familiar, like voices I had heard before. Not because I studied them, but because I had lived them through stories. The beautiful part about this kind of watching, you stop being a learner. You start becoming part of the story, feeling it, not analyzing it. No translation, no grammar, just moments. And those moments felt real. That's where true fluency begins, not in rules, but in rhythm and reaction. That night I didn't catch everything, but what I did catch gave me new confidence. So I kept going. I started watching short clips without subtitles. Then I moved on to episodes, then full movies, and each time my understanding grew. My ears became sharper. My brain started to guess what might come next. I even picked up little habits of speech, the way someone said, when unsure, the quiet, when agreeing. These sounds weren't in textbooks, but they were everywhere in real life. Sometimes I replayed a fast scene, not to understand every word, but to feel the flow, the voice, the timing, the emotion. It became music, not homework. With time, something unexpected happened. My fear of speaking started to fade. Why? Because I had been soaking in English, not as a subject, but as an experience. Movies without subtitles taught me more than just listening. They taught me patience. At first, I felt lost, but slowly my brain caught up. And I realized something powerful: comfort doesn't create growth. Struggle does. Confusion isn't a sign of failure. It's the beginning of real learning. So if you still use subtitles, that's okay. It's a useful tool at the start. But someday, when you're ready, even just for 5 minutes, try watching without them. Trust your ears. Trust your instincts. Trust your feelings. Because true understanding lives between the words in the pauses, the smiles, the sighs. That one rainy evening changed the way I approached English forever. I didn't become fluent overnight, but I began to believe that I could. And belief is always the first step to change. You can try it too. Pick a short video. Turn off the subtitles. Listen with your heart. You'll be surprised by how much you already understand. Chapter 10. Simple sentences. Strong foundation. There came a turning point in my English journey. It wasn't about learning fancy words or long grammar structures. It was about realizing that the sentences I actually used every day were very, very simple. And that simplicity was the key that unlocked everything else. I stopped trying to sound advanced. I let go of sounding smart. Instead, I focused on sounding real, and everything started to change. I began collecting simple, useful sentences, ones that felt natural in daily life. Not textbook lines, but phrases from daily conversations, emotions, and true moments. They weren't impressive, but they were powerful, because I could use them. Each time I used one, it became more automatic, more natural, more mine. It started with a very basic sentence I don't understand. Just 4 words, but it gave me power. I could say it anywhere: at school, at work, online, or in person. It wasn't complicated, it was honest, and it worked. So I kept going. I started building a small list. Can you say that again? I'm learning English. What does this mean? Or I feel tired today. That's interesting. These short sentences were my bridges to the world around me. They helped me express myself clearly, without stress, without fear. And every time I used them, my confidence grew. I didn't want perfection anymore. I wanted connection. Each sentence became a tiny tool I carried with me. When I was confused, I used, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." When I was curious, I asked, "Can you explain that again?" When I forgot a word, I said, "What's that called in English?" These small tools gave me a big voice, not because they were complicated, but because they were real. They came from need, from emotion, from life. I began practicing them every day out loud. Sometimes walking in my room, I'd repeat, "I need help." Then I'd play with it. "Do you need help?" "She needs help." I would say them with different tones, different feelings. That repetition helped those words live inside me. So when I needed them in real life, they came out easily. I was no longer trying to remember. I was simply speaking. What I didn't realize at first was that I was building a foundation. These short sentences were like bricks holding up the house of my English. And without them, I had nothing strong to stand on. I also learned that you don't need thousands of words to speak well. You just need the right ones, the ones you'll actually say again and again. I made a new habit: 1 sentence each day. I don't know. That was my first. It gave me permission to learn. Then later I'll try again. That became my personal reminder to never give up. That's okay. That sentence helped me stay calm when I made mistakes. They weren't just words, they were my mindset. Another thing that helped writing them in my diary at night. I picked one sentence that felt close to my heart and wrote it 5 times. Not like a school exercise, but like a small moment of prayer. I whispered it. I imagined using it. I made it part of me. And slowly those words became my real voice. You can do this too. You don't need special books. Just choose 10 simple, honest sentences. Say them, use them, feel them. Practice in front of the mirror. Write them down. Carry them in your heart. They may look small, but they are gold. They are your true voice in simple form. I'm learning. I'll try again. Can you help me? These are not basic phrases. They are human phrases. And the more you speak them, the more fluent you'll become, not just in English, but in life. In the next chapter, I'll tell you about the silent friend that helped me most, my mirror. It never judged me. It just listened and helped me hear myself more clearly than ever before. Chapter 11. English with my mirror, the most honest practice. There is something deeply powerful about looking into your own eyes as you speak. You see your truth. You feel your fear. You face yourself fully with no escape. That's what happened the day I stood in front of my mirror and spoke English to myself for the very first time. It was just a quiet, ordinary morning. I had already been listening to English daily writing in my diary and repeating simple sentences. But when it came to actually speaking, even just to myself, I still felt uneasy. Not because someone was watching, but because my voice sounded strange. My words felt uncertain. My confidence was low. But then, something inside whispered, "Try the mirror." So I stood up and walked over. I looked into my reflection and said one word, "Hello." That was it. Just one word. But it shook something loose inside me. I followed with, "My name is," and smiled at myself. Partly embarrassed, partly amused, and entirely curious. Could this simple act really help me speak better? I kept going. I said what I felt in that moment. I'm tired. I want to learn. I am trying. They weren't long speeches. They were short, honest expressions. But when I saw my mouth forming those words, when I heard my voice in English, it felt completely different. It wasn't just in my head anymore. It was real, alive, present. So I made it a habit. Every morning, even if only for 5 minutes, I would stand in front of that mirror and talk. Sometimes I'd describe how I was feeling. Sometimes I'd talk about what I was planning to do that day. And sometimes I'd just repeat a single sentence again and again. Slowly, something beautiful started to happen. I stopped judging myself. I stopped fearing how I sounded. I started accepting my voice, my pace, my tone, even my accent. The mirror didn't interrupt. It didn't laugh. It didn't point out mistakes. It simply reflected my effort. And that brought peace. As my confidence grew, I became more expressive. I used gestures, played with tone, and even made jokes. I looked at myself and said, "You can do this." I gave myself pep talks. I role-played conversations. I asked questions. I answered them. This practice gave me more than speaking skills. It gave me self-trust. Every time I showed up to that mirror, I wasn't just improving my English, I was building a better relationship with myself. A braver, louder, more honest version of me was emerging word by word. There were tough mornings too, days when I felt low. But even then, I'd walk to the mirror and say one simple thing, "You showed up." That was enough, because that's what learning really is. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Over time, I expanded my practice. I added mini role plays. I practiced greetings, job interview answers, casual questions. Hi, can I help you? Yes, I'm looking for a book. It became fun, like acting, like rehearsing for real life. And when I finally had to speak to someone in the real world, it felt familiar. I had already lived those moments in front of the mirror. I had already said those words. And here's something surprising. I also learned how important the face is in communication. A smile softens your voice. A raised eyebrow shows curiosity. A calm gaze adds warmth. English became more than words, it became presence. I wasn't just learning to speak, I was learning to connect. So if you feel shy about speaking English, know this. Your mirror is your best partner. It's always there, always listening, always showing you the truth. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start now. Say, hi, how are you? Say, I feel good today. Say anything, but say it with heart, with love, with your full presence. Because each time you do, you are building fluency, not just with English, but with yourself. Even today, I still return to my mirror. It reminds me of where I began. It shows me how far I've come. And every time I look into my own eyes and speak in English, I feel proud, not because I am perfect, but because I continue. In the next chapter, I'll share the powerful technique that helped me speak naturally and automatically, repeating one single sentence 100 times, not with boredom, but with rhythm, with emotion, with belief. That practice changed everything. Chapter 12. The power of repeating one sentence 100 times. It might sound strange at first. Repeating the same sentence 100 times. Isn't that boring? Isn't that mechanical? But what if I told you that this one simple practice helped me speak English with more ease, more confidence, and more emotion than any vocabulary list ever did? I didn't believe it myself until I tried. One quiet evening after a long day of mirror speaking and diary writing, I still felt stuck. I had so many sentences in my head, but they didn't flow out naturally. My brain paused. My tongue hesitated. I couldn't find the rhythm. Then I remembered something a teacher once said. Don't try to memorize 100 different sentences. Repeat one sentence 100 times. So that night, I picked a simple phrase, I believe in myself. I stood in front of the mirror and whispered it, I believe in myself. I said it again and again and again. At first it felt silly, repetitive, pointless. But then something shifted. My voice grew steadier. My words flowed easier. I stopped thinking and started feeling the sentence. I played with it. I said it fast. I said it slow. I imagined using it in different situations before a test, during a hard moment when speaking English in public. Soon I wasn't just practicing the sentence. I was living it. I walked around my room saying it aloud. I whispered it while cooking. I wrote it in my diary. I even sang it softly like a song. I believe in myself. I believe in myself. The more I repeated it, the more it became a part of me. It wasn't just about English anymore. It was about courage, about belief, about giving my voice power. And the magic, that sentence started to come out naturally when I spoke, without hesitation, without fear. So I tried it with other phrases. I'm doing my best. It's okay to make mistakes. English is my friend. Each day, I picked one sentence. I repeated it everywhere out loud in my mind during walks before sleep. Sometimes I recorded myself saying it and listened back not to check mistakes, but to feel the sound, the emotion. And every time I did, something grew stronger inside me. My mouth learned the movements. My brain stopped panicking. My heart started trusting. Repeating one sentence 100 times taught me what no grammar book ever could, that fluency is about feeling the language, not memorizing it. It's about rhythm breath energy. This kind of deep repetition is not boring when done with love. You can dance with the sentence. You can imagine real conversations. You can act it out, whisper it to the wind, or shout it to the sky. And every time, your fluency grows like a tree being watered daily. No pressure, no perfection, just presence. If you're learning English now, I want you to try this. Choose one sentence that means something to you. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe it's simple. Maybe it's true. Say it 10 times today, then 20 tomorrow. Try to reach 100. Feel it, believe it, own it. That night, when I repeated "I believe in myself" 100 times, I wasn't just learning English, I was learning me. I realized I wasn't too slow. I wasn't too old. I wasn't too late. I just needed to believe. And one sentence at a time I did. In the next chapter, I'll tell you how I moved away from learning English through abstract examples and started learning from my real life. That small shift changed everything and made English unforgettable. Chapter 13. The moment English became mine. There was a time when English felt like it belonged to someone else. I kept reading dialogues about lives I didn't live, shopping in malls I had never seen. I memorized lists filled with fancy words I'd never use even once in real life. Everything felt distant, fake, like trying to wear someone else's clothes. Then one afternoon, something shifted deep in me. I looked around my quiet room, feeling tired and confused. And I thought, why am I learning about imaginary lives when I have my own? Why not use my morning, my feelings, my tiny moments as tools to grow? That simple thought changed everything. I decided to bring English into my world, not the other way around. I began small. I described my day using honest, simple English. I woke up late today. I made a hot drink. The sky is gray. I feel slow. These were not perfect lines, but they were mine. They were true. And truth has power. Because these words came from my life, they stayed with me longer. They weren't floating in my head like random facts. They were memories in motion. Soon I made it a habit, a way of living. When brushing my teeth, I whispered, "I'm brushing my teeth." While cooking rice, I'd say, "I'm boiling water." As I looked out the window, I'd softly note, "The trees are still today." No textbook gave me these sentences. My life did. That's what made them real, warm, alive inside me. I was no longer speaking just English. I was speaking my English shaped by my actions, guided by my emotions. Later, I started saying how I felt too. I feel nervous. I miss my friend. I'm happy about today. These weren't just practice, they became healing words. They helped me name what I felt and share it with kindness. By doing this, English became more than a skill. It became a part of my heart. One thing that helped me was writing down personal sentences. After a long walk, I'd write, "My legs are tired." After talking to someone, I'd write, "It was nice to see her smile." I didn't try to learn hundreds of new words each week. I just focused on words that mattered to my world. And that made all the difference. Slowly, my English grew rooted in my daily life, not someone else's idea. Then I started asking myself questions in English. What did I do today? What made me smile? What do I hope for tomorrow? Each question helped me think deeper and express more. Every answer I gave created new sentences, new understanding, and more confidence. It no longer felt like homework. It felt like breathing, walking, being alive in English. The more I practiced this, the less I needed to memorize. I stopped translating. I stopped forcing. If I didn't know a word, I used a simpler one. If I forgot a phrase, I explained it another way. That's how my English became flexible and natural. Because I was using it to say things I really wanted to say. That's the kind of learning that goes deep into your soul. You don't need special apps or fancy methods. All you need is your day, your thoughts, your heart. Start now. Look at your room. What do you see? Say it out loud. There's a chair. The fan is on. What are you doing now? I'm reading. I'm thinking. What are you feeling? I'm calm. I'm curious. Even one honest word is a start. Then two. Then five. Then a full sentence. Soon your life becomes your lesson book. Your routine becomes your English class. Your story becomes your teacher. When you learn this way, there's always something new to say. Every day brings new emotions, new ideas, new small adventures. It never gets boring because it's all real. This is the kind of learning that lasts for life. Not because you were forced to do it, but because you lived it with your own voice, your own truth. And in the next chapter, I'll tell you something that changed my speaking forever. I found someone who listened to me without judgment, someone who made me feel safe to speak. And that made all the difference. Chapter 14, Finding Someone Safe to Speak With. You've walked this journey for a while now. You've practiced in silence in your own world, but maybe you've reached that point too. That moment when silence is no longer enough. You've whispered to yourself in the dark. You've filled notebooks with quiet dreams. You've listened, repeated, built tiny steps. But now your heart wants something more. It's not about learning anymore. It's about being heard by someone real. I remember when that moment came for me. It didn't shout, it whispered. I felt a quiet emptiness inside. Even though I had done everything right, I was building sentences daily living in English. Confidence was growing, but something was missing. I didn't need more lessons or textbooks. I needed a human voice, soft and kind. Not a teacher who corrected everything. Not a classmate who turned it into a race. I needed a safe person, just one. Someone who wouldn't laugh at my mistakes. Someone who wouldn't shrink my voice. Someone who gave space, not pressure. I didn't need correction at that time. I needed connection more than anything, but I was scared to ask for help. Scared I'd be annoying or judged. My voice still felt uncertain and weak. My grammar was messy, vocabulary small. But one quiet day, I gathered courage. I took a tiny, shaky step forward. I messaged a friend who knew some English and asked, "Can I practice with you?" I still remember how much I trembled. My hands shook while I typed that message. When they answered, "Of course, I'd love to." My heart opened like a flower in spring. We didn't start with big conversations, just small ones, soft and slow. How was your day? What did you eat? What are your plans? Just little chats. I made many mistakes. I stumbled. I forgot. Words laughed nervously, paused often. But my friend didn't interrupt or correct. They just listened and waited patiently. And for the first time ever, I felt safe. I felt like my English had a home. This wasn't a classroom. It was real life. It was messy, warm, kind, and honest. And that safe space changed everything. It gave me a place to grow. I stopped being scared of silence. I stopped hiding when I felt unsure. I started using those simple phrases, the ones I had repeated for months. And when they worked, I felt powerful. Because I didn't need big, hard words. I just needed the courage to speak. And my friend helped give me that. Some days we talked for 5 minutes. Other days just a voice note or two. Sometimes we didn't speak for a while. But the connection stayed like quiet sunlight. Knowing someone supported me meant everything. It kept me going on hard days. It reminded me that learning is emotional. Not just grammar, it's about being human. That trust made my words feel easier. They flowed gently like a small stream. One day, my friend said something simple. "Your English is getting better." And I smiled so big I almost cried. Because it wasn't just about English. It was about being seen and accepted. That little sentence meant more than grammar books. It gave me more energy than any class. It reminded me why I started at all. Progress doesn't always sound loud or fast. Sometimes it whispers, "You're getting there." So if you're learning and feeling stuck, let me tell you this with love. You don't need a perfect person. You just need someone kind and gentle. Someone who hears you, really listens. Someone who gives you space to grow. They don't need to be fluent either. They can be learning right beside you. You can laugh together, learn together. You can make mistakes and still connect. That's the real path to fluency. Not perfect words, but real connection. And if you haven't found them yet, please don't give up searching. The world is full of kind people. Many are also waiting for someone. Someone brave, someone honest, someone like you. You can be that safe person too. Offer a hand, lend your voice. Create a space where learning feels warm. I will never forget the one who gave me that first safe home. They helped me believe in myself again, not just in English, but in life. And that belief made all the difference. It changed me, and it can change you too. Chapter 15. The day English spoke inside me. It didn't happen all at once. It wasn't some big moment with fireworks or music. One quiet afternoon, I was walking slowly down the street, just watching life around me. A little girl ran by laughing with joy, and something small shifted in my mind. A soft thought came to me like a breeze. "She's so happy," my mind whispered. I didn't try to make that sentence. I didn't plan it. It just showed up on its own. And for a few seconds, I didn't even notice it was in English. But when I realized it, I stopped walking and smiled deeply to myself. That little sentence wasn't translated. It was born inside me quietly and naturally. In that moment, something beautiful became clear. I'd started thinking in English. No pressure, no plan, no force. It just happened like a bird flying into the sky. That thought was simple, but it changed the way I saw myself. For a long time, I believed thinking in English was only for advanced speakers. In the early days, I translated every single word from my language. It took energy. It took time. And sometimes the meaning didn't feel right. I would think one thing, but say another. It felt heavy and slow. I thought that was just how learning worked. But I was wrong. I didn't know that thinking in English isn't something you push. It's something you grow. It grows like a tiny plant. Quiet, steady, hidden until one day it blooms. After that moment with the laughing girl, I started noticing more quiet thoughts in English. I'd wake up and think, I don't want to get up yet. Or I'd be looking for something and think, where is my phone? These weren't sentences I practiced. They came from inside me. I wasn't trying to study anymore. I was just living, and English was living with me. It was no longer only on the outside of me. It had moved into my inner world. That simple shift made me feel proud in a quiet and honest way. When you start thinking in English, you gain something powerful: freedom. You don't need to translate. You don't need to search for every word. You just feel it. And because you feel it, you speak it more clearly. That flow builds confidence. It makes you brave and gentle at the same time. Thinking in English doesn't mean you lose your language. It means you allow both to live inside you side by side. And your brain will start to pick what feels easier, smoother, kinder. The more you use English daily, the more your brain says, let's go with that. That's the secret. It's not about force. It's about comfort and consistency. Every time I wrote a journal, spoke to myself, repeated a phrase, I was training my brain. Not with pressure, but with small, loving practice. And one day, all those little moments added up. Now, there are still days I think in my own language. And that's okay. But I now have a quiet power. I can switch easily. I can understand and express feelings without needing to stop and translate. I can walk into a shop and think, ask kindly. I can hear someone speak and just feel the meaning directly. That small ability changed how I see myself completely. I wasn't just someone trying anymore. I had become someone living with English. One of the best things I did was make a small thinking corner each day. Just 5 minutes of sitting and thinking silently in English. No speaking, no writing, just thinking. What am I feeling? What do I need? This little practice helped my thoughts grow more fluent and more alive. Over time, those thoughts stopped feeling foreign. They became part of my identity. If you're wondering how to think in English, here's my honest advice. Don't force it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just bring English into your day, your thoughts, your feelings, your small actions. Repeat words that mean something to you. Listen to voices that comfort or excite you. Write about your truth, your worries, your joy in English. Talk to yourself when no one is watching. Smile when it feels right. And one day, when you least expect it, your mind will whisper something soft in English. That whisper is not just a sentence. It's proof. It's a sign. It's your quiet victory. It's the moment you stop being a student and start being a speaker. In the next chapter, I'll share something we all face, our fear of mistakes. I'll show you how I stopped fearing every error and began learning from them instead. Chapter 16, Learning Without Fear. Mistakes used to scare me. Each wrong word made me feel small inside. Whenever someone corrected me, I felt embarrassed. One time, I used the wrong tense, and someone laughed. They didn't mean to hurt me, but it stayed in my heart. That little laugh echoed for days in my mind. I began to fear speaking. What if I always get it wrong, I wondered. What if people think I'm not smart? Those thoughts were heavy and full of doubt. For a while, they made me quiet. I didn't want to open my mouth anymore. But then something shifted. I watched a video of a child learning to speak. He made many mistakes, but his mother didn't laugh. She listened, smiled, and responded with kindness. She didn't interrupt him or correct everything. She just let him talk and loved him through it. That moment opened my eyes. Children mess up all the time, but they never stop. They talk. They try. They keep going. Why? Because they're not scared to be wrong. They're free to be imperfect, and that gives them strength. So I made a quiet promise to myself. From now on, I will make mistakes. Not only accept them, but welcome them with courage. I stopped calling mistakes failures. I started seeing them as steps forward. Every mistake had a message for me. It showed what to learn, where to grow. It meant I was trying, and trying means progress. So I gave myself permission to be imperfect. I looked in the mirror and said it aloud. It's okay to make mistakes. I may not be perfect, but I'll get better. Saying that broke something heavy inside me. I felt free. I felt brave. I went out and spoke, even if I messed up. And yes, I did mess up. But nothing terrible happened. People still understood me. Some even smiled and helped me kindly. That surprised me. I realized most people don't judge you. They just feel glad you're trying. So I began writing my mistakes in a notebook. Not to feel bad, but to learn. I wrote the wrong sentence, then the right one. I go yesterday. I went yesterday. Simple, clear. No guilt, just growth. Mistakes became little puzzles to solve. I started enjoying them like games. They weren't my enemies anymore. They were my teachers, showing me new things. And here's the truth I discovered. When you stop fearing mistakes, you learn faster. Without fear, your mind opens wider. You speak more, try more, grow more. That's why the best learners aren't perfect. They're just not afraid of being wrong. Even native speakers mess up sometimes. They forget words or say, that gave me more confidence. If even they make errors, why should I feel shame? I stopped chasing perfect grammar. I started chasing real connection. I wanted to express myself, not impress anyone. And something amazing changed inside me. I became gentle with myself. No more saying I'm bad at English. I started saying I'm learning every day. I celebrated progress, even the small steps. I laughed at silly mistakes. I turned pain into play. English became lighter, more fun, more alive. It became something I enjoyed, not something I feared. If you're scared of making mistakes, I get it. But believe me, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be brave. Let the words come even if they're messy. Let the mistakes come. They aren't your weakness, they're your path. In the next chapter, I'll tell you how English became more than just words. It became the way I showed my true feelings, and that changed everything. Chapter 17, When English Touched My Heart. There's a turning point in every learner's path when English stops being just knowledge and becomes something more. At the start, I studied English like solving puzzles. I memorized lists, followed grammar, and practiced sentence patterns every day. Everything was about doing it right. Correct structure, correct tense, correct everything. But over time, something quiet began to shift inside me, and I didn't even notice it happening at first. One evening, I sat down as usual to write in my diary using simple English like always. I wrote the line, "I miss someone today," and then suddenly, my eyes filled with tears. Not because the sentence was advanced or perfect, but because it was real, it was me. That small, honest line held something bigger than rules or vocabulary. It came straight from my heart, and in that moment, I didn't feel like I was using English, I was feeling it. Up until then, English had been a tool for me, something useful for tests, jobs, or travel. But now I saw it differently, like a voice that belonged to me, one I didn't know I already had. It was no longer just for others to hear me, it was for me to hear myself. I began to use English as my second soul, my gentle friend, when I had no one else to talk to. When I felt tired, I'd write, "I'm exhausted," and when I felt proud, I'd say I did something brave today. Even when I was scared, I'd whisper, "I'm afraid, but I'll try anyway." And somehow those words made me stronger. These weren't long or fancy phrases, but they carried real truth, and truth gives words weight. From that point on, English was no longer a subject. It became my mirror, my comfort, and my healing space. I'd look into the mirror and say in English, "You're doing fine. You're growing." It felt strange at first, but comforting, almost like hearing new hope in familiar pain. Even English songs began to move me differently. I didn't just understand them, I felt them. A simple lyric like, "You're not alone," would touch me so deeply as if someone had spoken directly to me. And when I heard "Keep Going, You're Almost There," I felt something push me forward inside. I started to carry those phrases with me all day, like small pieces of light in my pocket. Though my English wasn't flawless, it was honest, and that honesty made me feel powerful. And something else changed. I started to connect with people on a deeper level. When I said, "That must be hard," or "I feel the same way," people didn't care if I made a mistake. They listened to the feeling, not the grammar. They felt the warmth behind my voice. That's when I learned fluency isn't about perfect English. It's about sharing something real. It's about making someone feel seen, heard, and understood. After that, I no longer saw English as something I had to pass. I saw it as something I could live. It became my voice for honesty, for healing, for emotion. I wrote short poems in English, like tiny pieces of my heart written in another voice. Before bed, I spoke soft affirmations: "I'm doing my best. I'm proud of who I'm becoming." These quiet practices made English live not in my memory, but in my emotions. And when a language touches your heart, it becomes part of your story. You don't need to force it. You don't need to memorize. The words stay with you because they matter to your soul. So if you feel stuck learning English, maybe you don't need more study. Maybe you just need to feel more. Use English to tell the truth of your day. What made you laugh? What made you cry? What gave you hope? Speak from your feelings. Even simple words become powerful when they're real. Because the day English becomes your emotional language, it becomes unforgettable. And in the next chapter, I'll take you into one of the most powerful moments of my journey, the first day I lived completely in English, from sunrise to sunset. It wasn't easy, but it changed me in ways I'll never forget. Chapter 18. The Day I Lived in English. Some moments arrive quietly, without a plan, like sunlight gently filling a room. That morning wasn't marked on a calendar. There was no decision, no goal, no big reason. I opened my eyes and softly whispered, "Good morning," without even thinking. As I made my bed, the words, "Let's start the day," came out naturally. There was no translation, no effort, just a calm flow of words, like an old friend. Then I had a small idea. What if today, just for fun, I stayed in English all day? Not with pressure, not with perfection, just using the English already in my heart. So I followed my routine, but with a soft English voice guiding each step. I'm brushing my teeth now. Time to make tea. The sun is shining outside. I spoke gently, like I was telling a calm story to myself. It felt peaceful, as if I had welcomed English into my real life. At breakfast, I played a podcast in English. I didn't catch every word, but I understood the feeling, the message, and I repeated a few lines out loud. That makes sense. I didn't think about that. Even though the speaker couldn't hear me, I answered. That's interesting. It was more than practice, it was a connection. The language felt alive, like a quiet companion walking beside me. Later, I made a to-do list in English. I spoke out loud as I moved through tasks. Let me check my messages. I need to wash the dishes. Don't forget to drink water. These short phrases made a rhythm inside my thoughts. My mind started to move in English, one soft step at a time. When I felt tired, I didn't quit. I whispered, "I need a break." Just those 4 words gave me peace, like a hug for my mind. In the afternoon, I met a friend and told them, "I'm doing an English day today." They smiled. They supported me. It wasn't a perfect conversation, but I gently returned to English again and again, like dipping into a warm pool. I asked myself quiet questions inside. What is she saying? How can I reply? Even with small mistakes, I kept going. That was progress. Later, I watched a short English video and described it softly to myself. The man is talking about his trip. He looks happy. I didn't explain everything. I just enjoyed the rhythm of the words. While making dinner, I smiled and spoke to my food. Now I'm chopping the onion. Let's boil the water. Yes, it was a little silly, but it also felt honest and free. This was my voice, simple, emotional, and finally free of fear. At night, I sat down with my notebook and wrote, "Today, I lived in English." I listed what I'd done, how it felt, and what I learned. I realized I didn't need perfect grammar. I needed real emotional expression. I didn't need every answer. I just needed the courage to stay in the language. This wasn't about showing off. It was about stepping gently into a new world. I saw that English wasn't just something I studied. It could belong in my ordinary, messy, beautiful life. You don't have to be fluent. You just need to say yes to one day. One quiet day where you try, speak, think, listen, breathe in English. Even half a day, even just a few hours, let the language walk beside you. You'll be amazed by how much you already carry inside you, and more amazed at the confidence you gain from simply trying. Since then, I've done many English days, some easy, some hard. Each one helped me grow. Each one made English feel more like home. Now it doesn't feel like a challenge. It feels natural. English isn't a stranger anymore. It's part of my rhythm, a voice I use daily, softly and confidently. If you haven't tried an English day yet, I truly hope you do. Because when you do something inside, you will shift quietly, powerfully. And next, I'll tell you what I gained from all those small, steady steps. Because the gift wasn't just language. It was confidence, courage, and a new way to see who I truly am. Chapter 19, More Than Words, Finding the Voice Within. Looking back now, I see this journey wasn't just about learning English. It was about finding a new way to live, to see myself, and to step into the world with more courage than I ever imagined. I didn't just gain vocabulary. I didn't just pass a test. I found something deeper. I discovered confidence quiet at first, but slowly It became a voice that would never fade. At the beginning, I struggled. I could barely finish a full sentence without second-guessing myself. I used to stay silent, nod, and smile just to avoid speaking. My fear was louder than my voice, but I kept going. Day after day, I practiced. Not just for English, but for myself. I whispered words into mirrors. I repeated one simple phrase over and over until it felt natural in my mouth. I failed more times than I can count. But every time I failed, I also grew a little braver. Confidence didn't come like a big light switch. It was more like a soft candle slowly warming the cold parts inside me. I remember the first time I said, "I don't understand," without shame. I remember laughing at a mistake instead of hiding. These moments were small, but they opened doors inside me. English gave me the space to become someone I didn't know I could be, someone who tries, speaks up, and stands tall. When I started this journey, I was quiet. I was nervous that people would judge me or think I sounded silly. So I kept answers short. I avoided deep conversations. But as English became part of my routine through journaling, through speaking out loud, through simply listening, I changed. I started showing up with more honesty. I stopped pretending to be confident and started actually becoming confident. I didn't wait for perfection anymore. I showed up messy, real, and present. Every sentence I practiced was more than just grammar. It was a promise to myself, a way of saying, "You matter. Your voice matters." Even if I only practiced for 5 minutes, those minutes told my brain, "I'm here. I'm trying." And when you keep showing up for yourself, your mind learns to trust you. Your fear starts to melt. Your spirit starts to rise. Slowly, I started to believe, maybe I can do this. And that belief spilled into other parts of my life. I started talking more openly, not just in English, but in my native language too. I applied for things I used to be scared of. I made new friends. I joined groups. I started sharing my ideas out loud. Before I used to think, what if I say something wrong? But now I think, what if I never try English didn't just give me a tool to talk? It gave me the courage to be seen. There's something magical about learning how to express emotion in another language. When I say, "I'm proud of myself" in English, it feels fresh, like I'm telling a younger version of me that everything will be okay. When I say I'm doing my best, it reminds me that effort is always enough. These words aren't just translations, they're reflections. They show me who I've become, a person who keeps going. I didn't gain this confidence by speaking perfectly. I gained it by staying in the game. I gained it by being willing to sound unsure, to mess up, to feel awkward. I read when I was tired. I listened when I felt lost. I wrote even when I didn't know how to spell the word. And each time I didn't give up, my confidence grew stronger. Not all at once, but bit by bit. Now, when someone asks, "Are you fluent in English?" I don't get nervous. I don't panic. I smile. Because fluency to me isn't about sounding native. It's about showing up honestly. It's about speaking with heart. I may not know every word, but I know how to express who I am. That is more powerful than any perfect accent. If you're still walking your own English path, I want you to remember, this journey is building more than language. It's building belief. It's teaching you how to rise after every stumble. It's helping you trust your own voice. And that voice, your true voice, will carry you forward, not only in learning, but in life. In the final chapter, I'll show you how English became more than a goal. It became a companion, a friend that walks beside me every day, not something I study, but something I live with, breathe with, and grow with every single step of the way. Chapter 20, English, my friend for life. At first, English felt like a school subject full of pressure rules and fear of mistakes. I treated it like math, like a test I had to pass, not a voice I could grow with. I spent so many hours memorizing rules, trying to be perfect, trying not to fail. But the more I tried that way, the more English felt far away, like something outside of me. No matter how hard I chased it, it always stayed just out of reach, like a train already gone. I thought learning meant punishment when wrong, but that belief made me lose joy. Then slowly, something shifted, not in a big moment, but in tiny ones day by day. It happened in quiet morning short talks in the mirror or whispers in my head. Instead of studying English like homework, I began to welcome it like a companion. I let it join me in daily life, not just on paper, but in thoughts and quiet feelings. English became a voice I respected, a way to share not just words, but my true self. It helped me speak my heart, understand others, and even hear my own thoughts more clearly. I stopped fighting mistakes. I stopped being scared of the wrong tense or forgotten word. I said, it's okay. You're learning. You're showing up. That's enough. And the more gently I treated English, the more gently it stayed with me. Even on days I had no energy, even when I wanted to quit, it didn't disappear. It waited. It stayed patient, like a kind friend sitting beside me in silence. Even 5 minutes of practice felt like a quiet conversation between two old friends. That soft, constant connection changed everything. It made me feel safe with English. Now it's no longer a chore. It's like drinking water or brushing my teeth natural easy. Some days I still mess up. Some days I forget words. But I no longer feel ashamed. Now I laugh. I smile. I say, that's okay. We're still growing together. English isn't in my school bag anymore. It's in my breath. It lives with me. It's there when I'm joyful. It's there when I feel lost. It listens when I don't speak aloud. It's with me when I look back on memories or dream about what's next. More than just vocabulary, it gave me courage, new ideas, and a new version of myself. Because of English, I met new people, saw new worlds, and opened new doors in my life. I can now stand up and say, yes, I speak English. Not perfectly, but with pride and heart. That is what real friendship does. It lifts you. It stays even when you feel small. So when people ask me how I became fluent, I don't say I studied hard. I say I made English my companion. I talked to it with care. I trusted it. Even on days I was tired, I let it live inside my thoughts, not just in textbooks. And like a true friend, English stayed. It didn't leave me behind. If you're still treating English like a scary exam, I invite you to change that today. Speak to it kindly. Be patient. Let it grow at its own pace like a seed in warm soil. You don't have to be perfect. Just be present. Speak with love, not fear. Let English into your morning and into your heart, not just into your notebook. Then one day like me, you'll look back and smile. English won't be your subject anymore. It'll be your friend, always, near always, walking beside you. This is just the beginning. Your journey with English is still unfolding, and it's a journey worth taking, step by step, sentence by sentence, breath by breath. Thank you for sharing this path with me. If this story feels like your own, remember you are enough just as you are. And if this video touched, you don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Tell me what part of this journey felt closest to your heart. English is more than a tool. It's a bridge, a mirror, a friend, and it will walk with you always.